Hello, online pipe community. Ethan, Parsimonious Piper here. Today we've got another episode of Morsels for Mental Manducation, and we're going to dive back into C.S. Lewis. First, in a Pipe by Lee 1-star bent billiard, nice little carving, I've got another bowl of Emerson Southern Forged Pole Dark. We'll talk about that more in detail tomorrow. Where did we leave off with Lewis? Well, the last thing we talked about was that Christians differ on their explanation of exactly how or why Jesus' death and resurrection makes possible this reconciliation with a creator who is concerned with morality for creatures who break that moral law. But they agree that somehow it does. The next question then is, well, how? Having made this reconciliation possible. Well, Jesus described this reconciliation as a new birth. And just like the facts of our biological conception and birth sometimes didn't make sense to us or were surprising, or we had trouble believing them the first time we heard them, they were facts nonetheless. Something similar happens with this spiritual sense of a new birth. And in fact, those facts, as they're described in Scripture anyway, often appear strange to many. Well, what are those? Looking across Christian beliefs, the spectrum, Lewis identifies three things, three components to conveying this new life as belief, baptism, and what my Protestant upbringing refers to as communion, the Lord's Supper. Now, as with many other things, Christians disagree on which of those is primary, or the weight of importance of each of those. But Jesus himself discussed them and even commanded them. So we all do agree that they're important in this process. There are some who will insist that belief is all you need, and yet in James, 2nd chapter, we're told, well, even the demons believe, and yet they tremble. So belief itself isn't the only component to this grace that we're given. But the fact that Jesus discusses these things and commands them puts it on good authority that they are in fact core. Now, many people will shy away from that term authority, particularly where we are trying to convince someone of something, because in logic, the appeal to authority is one of the most common fallacies. And yet, almost everything that we know, so to speak, is based on the authority of someone else. I can't, for example, prove to you that a place called Tokyo, Japan, exists. I don't know in an experiential or logical sense that it does, and yet I have it on good authority from people who have been there that city does in fact exist. So I do rely on the authority of other people for even things that we commonly assume to be facts. And if, as the supposition at this point that Jesus was who he claimed that he was, then he is the authority on issues surrounding how this new life occurs. And we shouldn't be terribly uncomfortable believing what he says. He designed it. He created it. Now, unlike religions that in which the individual does good things in order to either bring about this reconciliation, to earn a reward, to create positive karma, to achieve a reincarnation in a better form of life. The Christian doesn't believe that he does good things in order to somehow earn this new life. He believes that he does them because he's given it as a gift. Just as we didn't choose our biological life, it was something that was given to us. Some argue thrust upon us. In that way, the analogy here does break down a little bit. But in just that same way, in that we didn't choose the biological facts surrounding our biological birth. We didn't earn our life here. In the same way, we don't earn this new life. It's given to us. It is conveyed to us somehow. And those three things play an important part. And just as with our biological life, it may have been given to us, but without some effort on our part, we can lose it. Or we can make it miserable. In the same way, the human effort that is required for this new life doesn't give us this new life, but it certainly does go a long way toward its upkeep. Just as we feed the body, we feed the soul. We don't study Scripture just to study Scripture. We study Scripture because that feeds this life. It helps us understand what it is that we should be doing with this new life. Many of us neglect our physical exercise far more than we should. There's a danger in neglecting your new life exercise as well. That new life can wither. Nobody really disagrees about that. Now, Christians do disagree on whether you can lose this new life. But here, Lewis and I focus on the things that we agree on, the things that are core, not on the things that separate us. Lewis covers some more interesting topics in this chapter. It's well worth your time to read through them, ponder them. Determine for yourself where you agree or disagree with him. leave questions or comments for future discussion. And with that, light something you like and enjoy your afternoon.